All right, welcome back to Finding Truth Podcast here on Unscripted Truth TV. Logan here with Austin for another banger and episode 63. Get the banner up. So we're moving right along, man. Um, yeah, so kind of on the heels of our last discussion we had last week, uh, make this intro a little short and sweet for once. We're gonna, like I said, off the heels of our last conversation about like depopulation and things of that nature. If you haven't checked it out, please do. But we kind of want to talk about this, this next phase of that. Say that goes through, or maybe a different scenario that leads to, in a a dystopian future, if you will. We're going to cover a few of those scenarios. We have ones like a global collapse, and obviously nuclear war is another popular one. A lot of these things are in the media. Zombies, uh, these things are always portrayed in the media. We're gonna discuss things from a bunch of different angles and hopefully leave enough topics open-ended enough, but also covered to where you guys feel like you guys can get involved in the conversation as well and have your takes be told in the comments or what have you. But yeah, without further ado, I'll send it down to you, Austin. How's you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. It's the last day already in November. It's been a fast calendar year for sure. Just yeah, like next month I always cut my hair on the first day every year. It's the only time I cut my hair just once a year. It's gonna be a month already to go till I do that again. And it's just yeah, like you said, these weeks are flying. It's been another weird it's been a weird overall week, and I was just talking to you about it before we started tonight. It just feels like I'm in a movie or a TV show. It's like and I'm the main character at this point. It's just so weird how life is playing out. Didn't really feel, I mean, the holidays never feel like holidays anymore anyways, but just a strange vibe week. I'm not sure what it all means, what it all entails, but definitely a lot of attention vibe and a lot of just weirdness that's going on, but um might be setting sail for something here late in the calendar year. Maybe something's coming December, or maybe some momentum or something getting ready to happen. It's hard to say at this point, but yeah, we got a good show tonight. For those that, I know a lot of people liked last week's show, was um, definitely trying to keep it kind of here nor there, trying to just kind of keep things different. Some weeks there's more gematria. Some weeks we got King on. Especially with taking a break from NASCAR and just kind of somewhat gematria talk, just trying to get different people and different vibes. And I know a lot of people like the shorter episodes, like last week, like where it goes 2.5 hours. That helps get other people these different conversations and stuff. And um yeah, last week was good. The views have been good. I know we've been adding subs. Still trying to, I know people are reaching out saying they want to be on here and stuff, and that's great. And I know there's other people that are slowly but surely finding the channel. So this is good for where we're at right now. Definitely going to be interesting going into 2026, all the changes and whatever's to come. But yeah, I'd say right now, I mean, I'd say we got some momentum built up, and yeah, hopefully, the new people that are finding the channel, maybe they, have, if they do come on, they got, maybe in topics themselves to, open up to about as well. And hopefully we, keep going in this direction. Seems like we got, like I said, probably have King on next week. So a lot of people I know look forward to that and tune in for that reason. Helps get a lot more people on the channel as well. And yeah, shout out to him and Zach and everyone else and all the people that have been, contributing and, um, helping us out. It's been like I said, almost our first full calendar year on here, but um, definitely seems like the growth is kind of slow but sure right now. We just keep finding ways to add to stuff each week, and yeah, I'm excited to see what we have for the very last little bit of what's left of the calendar year. Should be some interesting things that come up here the last month, so I wouldn't be surprised what we hear.
Yeah, and And just to add to that, it's not like I don't think our channel really lends to the to catching fire, if you will. Um, so to see the growth, start to hopefully snowball, but at the same time, even if it's just slow and steady, that makes enough sense, I think.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see it happening because who knows when it could eventually finally start. And so relatively young in our YouTube careers, so it's a good um, sight to see that we have the makings of a granted a sub community, a blending of communities that maybe some smaller ones along with Zach's and things like that. But still, it's we bring our own niche to the community, and we also, in doing so, this is absolutely not a knock on anybody else. I just think we have a unique take on trying to get people involved, and hopefully that only grows as we grow because the reach and the outreach will get bigger. So really, it's just the message. Reaching more people is the most important thing, and um, yeah, I think that or I think we're headed towards some green pastures with the growth. And shout out to everybody who's been a part of it so far and who's rocking with us. Because you guys are awesome. Not to be cliche or corny, but it is cool. I mean, why I say that is it's not like I'm just sitting there and I'm looking at a number and being like, thanks guys, thanks for the number. I'm talking to you guys every week, and those who reach out in the comments, we're having back and forth, and at least um, correspondence. So it is a little bit more personal than just looking at a subscriber count and saying thanks for the 1,000,000 subscribers, thanks for my plaque.
Yeah.
This isn't that. So thanks guys, and let's keep it rolling. And yeah, like you said, the people who have reached out to be on the show, I really do hope these things come to fruition. There's no qualifying factor other than you know I really don't even know. I like you can come on and be a wacko. If you're a wacko and it doesn't work out, boom, that'll work itself out. But
Yep.
really, we're not holding like tryouts. Come on here and hopefully we're at least pulling in the right kind of minds and people that can mesh with us. But there's no necessary qualifications. So get in while the getting's hot. That's what I say. And yeah, hopefully we can twist King Richard's arm to be on again and have a great episode next week as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, it's, and I'm pretty sure there's some new people too that I've hit up the last couple weeks and stuff that have also found the channel too. So, that's kind of the point. Like I said, we do, some episodes are longer, some are shorter, some we're talking more gematria, some aren't gematria. So it's kind of, you know, there's really something for everybody. And that's what I like about the way we do things. It's a unique take. So it's not like, what we do. We're not copying exactly, we have our own unique, authentic way of doing things. It's not, exactly what everyone else does. And that's what I like about it. We're not copying anybody. We're, doing our own thing, our own way. And that's, to me, that's what's worth tuning into. So it's not, it's not Zach 2.0 or King Richard 2.0 or somebody else, as a clone. That's not the point of it. Everyone's got their own knowledge and unique takes and things to talk about. And I think that's what we've been doing best so far in this channel for, already episode 63, like you said.
Yeah, you make a good point too, because I think we've talked about this really early on that in what we do, it's almost like a double-edged sword. Is that we want to help, eventually have a foundation to where we're all helping each member of the community that's a part of our community, blah blah blah. But having such a launching pad that Zach's given us, and wanting to do right by him, and obviously anybody new, hopefully they find out about him through us as soon as possible. His link is always in our description, just so you know. If we don't shout him out during the episode, I guess I can put that up. he's always in our description because we owe a lot to Zach. And if you don't know our story, we've covered it 55 times. If you watch our episodes, you'll hear it once. But it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword because we don't want to come on and detract from his work, but at the same time, I think it's a boon to his work to have people coming from different avenues and then find his work, because honestly, knowing how that worked for me, I do see that being a very possible thing. And Zach knows this. He's talked about it too. It's very hard initially to just go into something talking about numbers and really grasp the people's minds. And I'm going to say it brashly right now. Yeah, people are stupid. People aren't number savvy. They're not logical minded as much as they could be. I'm not even going to list a time because I really don't know. I was always a standout in the 90s and early 2000s coming up. It's not like I was surrounded by a bunch of mathematical, logical people then either. So I don't know when this all truly fell apart. It's something we can talk about, but yeah, just being able to cover the topics we cover and have this like easier opening, I guess you could say. And then, like I was saying, for me, it's like I thought I had it figured out. I thought I had the New World Order. The Titanic, 9/11. I thought I knew all those tricks and everything, and then I saw Zach's channel one time, and I almost had an out of body experience. I'm not even joking. I've talked about this. So a lot of that, it could be that epiphany. He could provide that epiphany, because ever since I've seen that, I've been hooked. I've been hooked to Zach and gematria and all that stuff. So I feel like if we're an entry to get to him, that's better than us espousing saying we're just as good at gematria and trying to sub community it. It's better to have like our own thing that we guide towards gematria. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's, and like I said, I mean, someone watches Zach and then they get what they get out of that, and whatever Zach talks about, King Richard, someone watches that, they get what they get out of King Richard, us, they get, so it's something a little different. It's, you're not, taking in exactly the same information. It's not, the point is to not be redundant, and just to have a different, just different things to think about and talk about, it keeps people more in tune than just hearing the same thing over and over. It's just like, some people, like you were saying, that aren't very smart, or maybe on the lower end, or the dumber people, maybe they only talk about like numbers 33 or something, and then that gets redundant because that's like the only number they're ever going to bring up. They're not really going to go into gematria or talk about anything. So it's kind of the point of what we do. We talk about all the numbers, all the gematria, everything, and then we also have knockoff episodes where we just talk about different topics that go along with just the everyday life in the world and the agenda as it is. And just sometimes it's just sometimes looking through a gematria lens, but sometimes you're just you're not necessarily looking at the numbers. You're just looking at just kind of what's going on or what's to come, or just ideas that we might have.
Very well. And one idea that has been kind of a gift that keeps on giving, and in media, and even just popular podcasts and everything like that, is this whole idea of global collapse eventually leading to the end of the world, of civilized, whether or not it's civilized world, or even potentially a larger event. And I think we'll get to that at the latter part of our discussion here tonight. But let's talk about, on the back of what we were talking about last week with depopulation and those systems that are being put in place. There's some things that, obviously that leads right into global collapse. What we were talking about is last week is we touched on a lot of different things, but it has to do with, the collapse of our economy and where people are at. It's a multi-pronged attack. You have, I don't know if we didn't necessarily say this out loud last week, but people being comfortable enough, feeling like they have to be comfortable enough to have children in this world. That's going to be something that it's a fleeting thing. You're only fertile for so long, and you're only able to produce, working eggs and sperm for so long, and introduce all the other outside influences, and before you know it, it's hard to have a baby. And if you do have a baby, it's way too easy to get rid of it. Those two things are, kind of putting a wrench in our plan of like, toughing this thing out and having a replacement for to fight the fight for us, but or to continue the fight for us, I should say. Um, but so yeah, there's like, along with depopulation, there's those other levers that are used, and I think one of the biggest ones when we talk about global collapse, and these things are all orchestrated obviously by the think tanks that we know about, the commissions and Rothschilds and all these names that you could just watch, and you could just put them in YouTube and you could go on for hours watching conspiracy videos on it. And I do recommend it if you have time. Those are always great to get at least a foundation. Not saying everything is true, not saying everything's a lie, but it's good to have like a base foundation of understanding certain things, or at least how they're presented. That way, when you see them in real life, you won't be taken aback and mesmerized by it. But at the end of the day, the tip of the spear, those Jesuits, man, they're really the ringleaders behind this, and you can understand why they are, especially coming from a religious order. And we might not get into that necessary aspect of it, but I will say this, it's funny, you think of like most religions as being those of, you would assume that like childbirth is one of the most important things in those religions. I mean, think about Christianity. It's literally the focal point of Christianity. And even in Catholicism, a woman giving birth is the focal point of that. I mean, it's a debate on whether or not, the Mary or Jesus is the focal point there. But anyway, never mind that. Even, in other religions, but it's like you look at the replacement. We're a Christian nation, and we're like dipping below replacement levels. More people are having abortions than babies. It's really weird that we're living in this Christian nation that is supposedly has all these, you look at your local church and, they're all non-profit, but the pastor's driving a nice car. And it's like, what's really happening with those communities that these churches are serving, where in an entire nation where, we're having less children. But anyway, so with that in mind, it really brings up a movie that I've talked about a couple of times, but I mentioned it to you, and I do think it's a good watch if you ever get time. I don't know how you'd stream it or whatever, however that works. But Children of Men. It's a movie that came out in 2006. I have a little synopsis thing here, just in case you haven't heard of it, guys. I'm not a big fan of recommending movies anymore. Ever since I've been, even before like the Zach awakening, I'll call it. I was on to, I can't watch movies in good faith. I understand, like, I'm way too good at pinpointing the plot and the pacing and the foreshadowing and all that stuff. So I ruin any movies that anyone's watching with me, because I'll just tell them what's going to happen, and it always happens the exact way I say. But this is at least, I think, along with like They Live and what's that one with oh my god, I can't believe I'm forgetting that one. Like the comedy one. Oh god,
I'm not very good at movies either. I never watch movies, so.
And it's like the name is fun. It'll come back to me, but I think it's like, is it Luke Wilson in it? I think Owen Wilson's brother. Oh my gosh, it's a stupid name, but I can't remember it. Anyway, but there's certain movies that are, almost like required watching if you to kind of understand these like overt symbols of the propaganda machine that they put out to like say, hey guys, we straight up told you, and you're still not gonna, you still think it's a joke, you still think it's a Hollywood movie. Okay, that's up to you. But I do think that this movie is up there with one of them. This covers so many different topics. It's really big on. Um, well, let me just say, read the little synopsis here. In the 2027 dystopian world, just think of that. This came out in 2006, so they were on to something here. Children of men, humanity is on the brink of extinction due to global infertility. With no children born in 18 years, the story follows Theo Farron, a disillusioned former activist who is forced to protect a miraculously pregnant young woman named Key and help her reach a sanctuary. And I'll just spoil it for you, but she's of some sort of African descent, which I don't think we'll cover right now, but there is something to be said about that symbolism there. Their journey is perilous as they are pursued by both government forces and revolutionaries who want to use the pregnancy to their own advantage. But as far as movies go, I'm not going to sit here and, oh, it was great. But at the time, I did like it, and it's a good enough movie alongside the message is worth seeing, I think, in this movie. But this is pretty much the encapsulation of that like dystopia of infertility and declining birth rates and everything. Like I might have talked about it before, but like they celebrate the youngest person's birthday every year because there's never going to be another youngest person. So it's like this guy is wildly famous. He's like 19 and he's like the most famous person in the world because he's the youngest person. So just interesting, but yeah. Where do you see the signs pointed towards infertility? I mean, you're out there in the world a lot more than I am nowadays too. So like you have things anecdotally as far as like your day-to-day lives, people at the gym, the pulse of actual people on the ground level. And I know you talked about it in a more personal way before, about like your own experience with either the fair sex or whatever's going on. But do you see that specifically as I'll say possibility, but as like a foregone conclusion, or what do you see infertility as? Do you think that it's possible, or we're headed there?
Yeah, and it's very multifaceted with a lot of things they do. It's interesting, the movie you're showing there, 2006, and they're talking about 2027. That's 21 years. You got 21 like Jesuit and stuff. But yeah, it's what's interesting to me is like the movie, like what they're showing there with this this being around this time, of course, or a year from now. But yeah, pretty much, it's so interesting because it's like, we've been around, like I always say, for long enough. We've seen things drastically change just in our lifetime. Yeah, most people, there's a lot of people, and a lot of it is financial too. I mean, a lot of people, they can't, it's like me, I can barely afford to get by. I mean, I'm barely surviving as it is. I can't definitely afford to have other people when I can really take care of myself and stuff. And then of course, you got to look at it from so many different angles. I mean, just trying to find relationships and dating and finding a person to, even have, kids with, or, try to reproduce with, or, have a house, or, have all these things align and stuff. I mean, and like I said, most people, they're broke. They don't got money. A lot of people, they're not dating anymore. They're just alone. So, I mean, yeah, it's, there's definitely, and then a lot of the people that are being born too. I mean, it's a lot of people are, the ones that are just kind of having kids. A lot of it's, not, it's not really, they're just kind of having kids, and then it's just kind of happening. So it's not really like it's real planned and thought out, and there's like a real structure for the child to be successful. So so they're probably going to grow up and have a crappy life, or be broke, or not even survive, or whatever. So people that are coming to the world, they don't really have for the most part, a real great foundation around them. Because a lot of people, they're just, having kids maybe by accident or here or there, or something happens. But, so yeah, I mean, and everything else they're doing. I mean, with the vaccines, the autism, all the, stuff they, obviously the fluoride in the water and the GMOs in the food and what they spray us with, all the other, things that, make us, not be able to reproduce as well. There's a lot going into it from a lot of different angles. I mean, they're, definitely taking that aspect away. Um, and yeah, it's definitely going to get worse. I mean, and that's just, I mean, there's so many people right now. I mean, they, like I said, that I know they don't, have kids or want kids or, um, see a future themselves. So it's like, why would you, have kids then, obviously? So, I mean, that's just kind of, and the way the world is too. I mean, it's just like what they're doing. They're, bringing about the end of days, end of time. So it's like, yeah, it's, so why do you, everything's just crap and sucks and is going, it's going to hell. Why do you want to bring someone here anyway? So, I mean, there's so many things they're doing, uh, for this, to make sure that the population goes down. And like I said, all the people that are, how many kids are, vaccinated and they become autistic or they have other issues, and then, that just messes them up. And so there's a lot of issues going down the line. And then, like I said, a lot of the kids, coming up now, they don't have that stable unit to probably make it in life or have a future themselves. So, um, yeah, I feel like most of probably the producing that's going to be going on is people that are either, rich and have the money and stuff to do it, the people that they want to reproduce, or just, people that are just kind of accidentally kind of having kids here and there, like I said. But yeah, I mean, I definitely with the, lack of dating and people being alone these days and not really, wanting relationships and marriage and family. So all these things play a massive role in that too. And it's just like we were talking last episode too. I mean, do we really need more people in the world when a lot of them just, they work against us and they drag us to hell? So and a lot of people agree with that too. I mean, there's a lot of people that see that as well. So like I said in the last episode, you got to kind of give them credit for what they've done. I hate to give the enemy credit in a lot of ways, but in some ways you do. It's just like, they've really thought this stuff out, and they've played it out, from so many sides, so many angles. So it's, definitely something that I do see. Um, I don't know exactly like when the population dip's going to be. I just think that, you look at a lot of older people right now, they can't really take care of themselves. They can't support themselves anymore because of the, shape of the economy and stuff. So they're in a bad spot as it is, as well as the youth as well. So kind of everybody right now is in a pickle and everyone's kind of screwed. So it's kind of just, there's really no place to be unless you're just, doing really well. And that's not most people, of course.
I want to also bring something else on the back of that too, is for anybody that has rose-colored goggles on moving forward, like you said, it's not fun to give the enemy credit and everything, but it's also, there's an idea of like just being realistic and understanding your enemy. First of all, not to quote Art of War. I don't know if I just quoted Art of War or not, but I need to give that book a read. But in a way, it is definitely worth understanding where your enemy is coming from. And so, as far as lowering the birth rates and everything like that, it's let me give a little public service announcement too. I'm a these numbers are fudged kind of guy. I get a comment or an email every time we talk about numbers. I think both of us are. I think we both realize that these could be easily manipulated, and even if they're not necessarily manipulated, being able to, the idea that you do have an accurate count on, where in a place where billions of people are living, that's rough already to begin with, let alone, the fact that we know they ritualistically use numbers. But I'm just saying, let's have a conversation. Let's build on a conversation. Let's not get fudged, let's not get stuck on, no, those numbers aren't real. Okay, well, it's tough to prove that. I do agree with you, but let's just talk, let's just continue the conversation. So as far as, them wanting to and you made. I'm glad I kind of uh, threw it to you where I did, because you covered most of the large scale things that I don't think the average person, yeah, they do take a lot of those things into account, or like one or two of those things into account individually in their life, but they never look at the grand scale of the two things that are affecting them. It's like they don't see the whole that's affecting everybody. And you mentioned obviously the vaccines and the autism and the, I'll add to it, the microplastics that's becoming a thing. And who knows the real extent of that. Microplastics, I don't like these terminologies that come with, because what it does is it's like it kind of gives them an excuse and an out, almost like cancer and cigarettes. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
we didn't know that was going to happen 30 years later. It's like, yeah, okay. Oh, we didn't know that just serving you all your food out of a plastic container that comes apart slowly would affect you at all. We didn't know that. And that's also saying it's like, oh, the past plastics that like that. No, no, no. It's been in their formula. They know down to a decimal, how much is going into a can so that they don't waste any and they make maximum profits. They know how much plastic is coming off of that bottle or whatever. There's things to track these things. But anyway, um, I don't want to give them some major excuse, because they definitely known about these things. So yeah, I'm glad you covered all the major things. But I do think an issue is that people just, like I said, they're tunnel vision on the one or two things they think affects them, and not seeing that all of it affects everybody. Even if one thing doesn't specifically affect you right now, if it affects all the neighbors around you, then it affects you. So it's that kind of thinking. And I think that keeps these things less, um, I guess, understood, and or people in the state to think that they don't have to do anything about them. Um, Obviously, you mentioned the spraying and things of that nature. It's just like there's things that are right in front of people. And I was listening to an old, uh, I guess you could call it a sermon. He's not really a preacher or anything like that, but I think he's like even like a black. What did he call himself? I wouldn't want to say like Black Power guy, because he's kind of like against those people. He spits a lot of truth, but he's still like in his own lane. His name is Steve Coakley, and he has a lot of like really good sermons that he gives. I'll just call them sermons because they're really more just like exposés almost about Boule, Masonry, and the black movements and the white supremacist movements, types of things like that. Has a lot of good information, but damn it, now I lost my point there. Anyway, fuck. But yeah, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Branched off so far. But yeah, as far as this is something that I think is one of their main um, points of attack, and it's a slow burn. And like that's what I was going to mention earlier with the cancer and microplastics. We're not going to know the effects until it's too late, and then that's kind of like the whole concept with that movie Children of Men too. It was like the government was reeling because it was like, oh, it's too late now. We're going to have that too late now mentality. So it's kind of a catch-22 at the. Obviously, we talked at length last week about the idea of whether it's even worth having kids or things of that nature. And it's weird coming from me having any kind of sentiment like that, but I completely understand it. At the same time, it's just like I'm really hoping that with me and my girls both working towards raising uh, upstanding humans, that we will have that the future generations won't be void of free thinking and things of that nature. It it's definitely one of the biggest catch-22s. They really put you in a spot where you have to sit there and think. Of course, you have the outside things, you got the financials, you got the way that the world is, all the things that are going on in the media that just say this is going to be stressful. This is going to be really hard. Your kids might come out fucked up just from the experience of being around during these times. On top of that, it's going to be hard for you. Are you going to be an attentive parent because you're pulled in 5, 10 different ways? All that stuff. But then even at its core, it's just like, man, you might end up just raising a fuck boy on accident too. And then it's just like, shit, my bad. Here's another one. But so it's a lot of work, and like you said, it's like I led with, because you said it. You hate to give them credit, but man, they really did put us in a pickle, put us in a bind with specifically, obviously, a lot of different things, but specifically this whole the thought of having kids, and this chart showing that having around just over 2 kids is replacement, and like we're way under that. So it's something to mull over. There's also the idea too that just because the U.S. isn't having kids, that doesn't mean every other country's not having kids. So I'm not any
Right.
kind of nationalist or anything like that. But that does mean that the U.S. is going to have a very different picture. It already is changing rapidly, but it's going to be a very different image of America within the next couple of generations here with this trend.
Yeah, and it's like I was saying, I mean, it's just changed life's changed so much just in our lifetime, just being here. And we haven't been here very long, but um I mean, you look at, when we were kids, back in the 90s coming into the world, it made sense, kind of back then to, have kids. Life was totally different. It was I understood it, but it's just like, um, so many of us, we got so screwed coming into the world at the time we did, and all the agendas that we've had to live through. And like I said, I mean, they've just made everything impossible. I mean, it's impossible to, get ahead. It's impossible to have money. It's impossible to pretty much, yeah, take care of yourself and just try and survive, and try and hold the job, and or try and start a business, or just try and do anything, especially in the last 5 years with COVID. And I think that was a huge part of all of this too, is we lost a lot of people with COVID with the vaccines. Lost a lot of kids, lost a lot of other people. People got autistic, they got all kind of health problems now. And it just put a huge divide in humanity. People that maybe were married or had kids, or they were a success before COVID, and there's a lot of people that after that they just kind of fell apart, or maybe some people they kind of went up and succeeded after that, but more people got torn down than built up, and more people lost and went backwards in the world. This created this massive divide, and it's just been this great falling away just ever since. And it's just things just get worse every year, and it's just getting to the point. It's just at some point things are going to come to a head. So, and I know a lot of people are in this position, and they understand this, they know this, and like I said, with all the other factors, um, a lot of people, what they're being forced, they can't even, dating and finding a wife or a husband. That's pretty much the last thing a lot of people's mind, and being able to own a home, and try and think about, trying to either, homeschool a kid, or, where you're going to take them to school, how you're going to do all that when you're just trying to survive. So as long as you got people that, they're not living life, they're just on survival mode, just trying to survive, they're not going to be having kids or wanting to have kids for the most part. So, I mean, again, this is just part of their masterful plan, the great work, and this is what they do. And, and everyone's, off their back foot, and everyone's in a, like you said, a pickle, a bind. I mean, that you can't really prosper with that. And it's like I said, it's not going to get any better. We're just at the beginning stages. This is just starting. I mean, things are about to get a lot worse, going into 2026, 2027 with all their plans. And, yeah, I mean, so many people, they want so many people gone. I mean, and depopulated. But like you said, I mean, all the things they've done. People that they took the vaccine. I mean, you might be fine now, but another year, 2, 5, 10 years, those people are probably, I mean, pretty much everyone that probably taken it is going to get something from it. Later in life down the line, if you live another 5, 10 years, maybe those people are going to start dying off, getting cancer, having other problems. So, and like you said, everything else too, the plastics, everything else they put in your water, your food, just all the other ways they poison you from the air and just everything. So yeah, I mean, we see all this now. It's just like all the stuff we breathe in every day, we're still fine now, but say we lived another 30, 35, 40 years, would we be okay? Would we be all right? Probably not. You know what I mean? They're killing off a lot of things. I mean, it's weird. Like lately this year, I haven't even seen like squirrels and chipmunks. I seen one. I was thinking about it. I was trying to find one. I seen one squirrel run across the road on Thanksgiving. We're out driving all day. I was out driving all day. I haven't seen like squirrels, chipmunks. Like they're killing off everything. It's not just us. It's just it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's that paired with, I guess that kind of lends into just like the dystopian setting. That's like when you're in it, you don't realize like how deep you are into it because it doesn't seem that bad. It's like you can find things that are like good still, but eventually there just won't be anything. There won't be anything good. I mean, we're seeing it already. Just one foul swoop, and you don't barely have kids on the playground anymore. You still don't have people coming outside, and that level of fear is going to translate into those people. If they eventually have kids, they're going to pass that on to those kids. It's because this programming it's in your DNA. It enters into your day, and even whether you're never mind that, if you're not into that type of like thinking or understanding, then just like obviously these thought processes are going to be spread from parent to child, and not to and the average parent that has the average kid that has their thought processes coming from their parents, or the majority of their thought process coming from their parent, is few and far between. Their social media, their teachers, school, all everybody's vying for their attention, and a lot of the times it's their parents that don't have the time to, or even the want to. So the kids are really they're really hung out to dry, and being left to their own devices. I think we can already tell where that's going to go, with how self-reliant people are in this day and age. It's they're gonna take the candy from the van as soon as it's offered, because otherwise they'd starve
Yeah.
on their own. So it's just going to be, you have these levels of propagandized people, and it almost feels like within the next couple of generations it's going to be almost impossible to find somebody that has an open enough mind about the world to have a deeper understanding of anything, because of, like I mentioned before, their problems are going to be 3-4 things that are major in their life that they can't take their focus away from to see things for what they really are. They're going to be so tunnel visioned on things that, yes, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh no, dude, just forget all that. It's not like that either. But the chances, it's like the way I see it is like my understanding and my awakening to all this crap. It was like a chance. I had to take the chance that was given. It's not like something that's guaranteed to everyone potentially. So because like even now, I'm very lucky to be in the spot I am, and I'm still relatively young. So who knows financially what all the changes that can happen within the next years. Things are going to change and fluctuate and shift. So who knows what I'll be doing in 5 years. But I am very lucky to be in the spot I am right now and the last few years, financially and things of that nature. But apart from that, it was a lot of my own, a lot of our choices that put us into the position that we are right now. And without what seems like a good choice to take, people are just going to take the hand up that's being offered, and signing on that dotted line, it does good for you in the short term, but signing on to sell out humanity in the long term is exactly where they want you. And so you have people. Anyway, I think that about covers it. But yeah, we're just going to have generational, obviously, decline in the amount of people, but also I guess you could just say the quality of people, just because we're headed towards that second phase of things, the zombie apocalypse, where obviously if you're not under a rock, you know about the huge surge in popularity. It fluctuates, but it's been still pretty popular for quite a few years now, this whole zombie genre, if you will. Obviously it's a very old genre, you could trace it back a long time, but it surged a couple different times, and this last time it surged has been one of the more times it's stayed relevant. Obviously you have The Walking Dead being like kind of the cornerstone of that. Obviously there's lots of different movies that led into this, and lots of different video games as well. Got to get those kids involved too. But the way I view this whole zombie apocalypse, this is, like I said, this is just a few generations out. This isn't something that takes 400 years or something like that. This is, look at what COVID did in 2-3 years.
Yeah.
The systems are already in place. I mean, if you guys can use your lenses of understanding just to see that, the advent of a cell phone was, it was an SMS, it was a standard text message with punching the numbers, no swipe texting, no talk to text, just punching numbers. It went from that to, obviously the more sophisticated versions of it, where you even had, the internet, which was still very archaic at the time. But from there to where we are now is a very short span of time, where it's like this entirely new thing that nobody can know, because the closest thing you could have to it was a Game Boy. And it's like, those are completely different ideas and concepts, really. So to see where we're at based on like what they introduced to us, then you start to understand that, yeah, these things move extremely fast. This is not taking like multiple generations to get these things done. These things are set into the back of our consciousness, seeded for when they need to drop them. The seeds bloom, and all of a sudden everybody's on target with what they got. They're into their psychoanalysis and understanding, indexing exactly how we behave and how we will behave with certain things, and how new things introduced into our world can manipulate us and get us to move a certain way. And so you have that like iconic type of idea that right now we are The Walking Dead. Of course, you have The Walking Dead come out, and literally in a time that it is first of all, cell phone technology's peaked. The next thing is going to be something else. It is not going to be a new cell phone, smartphone, whatever you want to call them, that like revolutionizes something else. It is going to be something else integrating a smartphone. So we're done with the phone thing. Is been done. They haven't made a new iPhone since like the iPhone 6, guys. It has been the rebranded, sleeker design, and then they trick you that design is worth doing. It's a fashion trend, guys. There's no new. I don't care if the RAM's higher, the this is higher, the memory's higher. It's the same shit. It's just recycled concepts, because they're not rolling out the next thing yet. The next thing that's on a different path, obviously, or else we'd have it already. But yeah, you have this huge trending thing about zombies in the mass media. All well, it's basically, like I said, peaking of the generation of just people looking down at their phones, being those exact zombies that the shows romanticize as, dead people walking. And they have these joke setups like so well, but at the same time, it's just like, how do we play into them so easily? And how come it's like, if you're on set and you're acting, how do you not know you're in the movie? I don't. How do you not know you're acting perfectly for them? You're just doing everything they say to do without without even getting paid for it at this point. So it's definitely a crux of humanity, how willing people are to fold to the script, if you will, or to their narratives. But this whole idea of zombies is a wide reaching thing. There's lots of different ways they can go about it, because there is a real aspect to it too. An idea of illness or sickness or outbreaks. So, and obviously, a la COVID, in a way, you could say the maskers were some form of that. Um, but like I said, I do believe like the whole zombie thing is a romanticization. It's something that is there to you know uh, kind of highlight the concept of one group of humans. And in the zombie movies, they're dead, but they're still like alive, but their goal is to drag humanity down with them. It's just like sometimes they eat their guy, and the people don't come back because they get fully eaten. But a lot of the times what happens, you get turned into one of them. And come on, if that's not an allegory, y'all, just stop me where I'm wrong here. But like COVID, if those aren't zombies, like if that's not the concept of a zombie, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, you already, like you said, you already have the zombies. I mean, you have not just from COVID, but you got the homeless people, you got the people that are still haven't figured anything out yet. They're still far behind. I noticed this. I mean, even back like 2017, I noticed the delusion was just so strong, just so massive back then. Just how people were, just people just walking around, just bumping into stuff. Just people were just they were just gone at that point. And um, yeah, like what you were saying with the technology. I mean, it's just like you look at like years like 1990 to 1999. There was a big explosion in technology. 1990 or 1990 to 2000. Probably like 95 to 2005. There was a big explosion. There's big changes in technology and stuff, even like up to like 2010. But you look at like since probably about like 2010, what's it been? It's been the same thing over and over again, right? I mean, the same old concepts, the same exact phones, the same exact um whether it's an iPhone or a smartphone, it's the same thing every single year. And it's been the same thing. Like technology was changing, it was advancing. It was just, like the first half of my life and the second half, it's just been the same thing over and over again, or, right around that time period. So it's like, uh, yeah, you got people are much zombified. They think they're getting better, they're getting newer, they're getting something else. Really, they're getting the same thing over and over again. And it's just a lot of it's not even as good as it was. A lot of it's getting worse and stuff like that. But um, yeah, you're just and like I said, with humanity as a whole, um, you already have that zombie like kind of takeover. You got people that, like I said, they're so dumbed down. The kids coming up now, I mean, they don't know anything uh other than technology and the internet and their smartphone or their iPad or their devices or whatever. A lot of them, they can't read, they can't write. So you do have this zombie state, and like I said, all the people that they're stuck. They can't wake up. They don't want to wake up. Um, and just humanity is just it's not evolving. It's devolving. We're getting dumber, weaker, slower, fatter, but more mind controlled. So the zombie takeover is really already here. And like I said, I mean, there might be uh, those new round of vaccines or any other way, maybe they can, you know, put stuff in you, inject you, or shoot you with something, and then you're gonna see people honestly turn into zombies. It's like when you look at the fentanyl. I mean, that's what it looks like. I mean,
Mhm.
people just their bodies. And what does that look like? It looks like a zombie, if you ask me. I mean, just their body dying, rotting, decomposing. I mean, it literally looks like a zombie to me. So yeah, I would say that's already here. I mean, I would say it's already begun. We're already going strong in that direction. It's only going to get worse as time goes on.
Yeah, you make a excellent point. See, I will bring up something. Maybe it's a little bit of levity, at least for me it is. But you know, like I would say, 40% of the times I see these people on fentanyl, it's like, yeah, they might just be passed out there, or laying down or something. But dude, the 40% of people who are literally just folded like a lawn chair, standing up, and don't fall over, I'm like, what is going on there? How is that even? I couldn't
Yeah.
do I can't do that sober. Like, what is going on? What are you do? How is this working? What? How are you maintaining equilibrium with the lower half of your body? Anyway, but yeah, it is very zombie-like. I mean, they even use that kind of stuff like in shows and movies. Like the zombies will act in those certain types of ways. I'm sure you've seen it, and not just in movies, but obviously on the streets with these people, there's a very zombie-like thing, and then you even get stories out of Florida. This is quite some years ago, but I think the drug was called crocodile. It was some version of fentanyl or some sort of a byproduct drug where you had people eating people's faces and stuff in the street, and
Yeah.
not
Like
knowing
bath
what they were
salts
doing.
and stuff. Yeah.
Bath salts, yeah. Um, yeah, so these manufactured, you know, outbreaks are very possible through pharmaceuticals, and it's just sad to say that. And you made an excellent point too. I think the key point you made was that these kids are coming up on nothing but technology, nothing but technology. It's not like there's some stuff splashed in there about how to like cook on a wood stove or like anything like that. It's just straight microwave, refrigerator. That's it. That's all you know. You don't know how to. And I'm obviously discluding even a range. It's like the average kid probably doesn't know how to cook on a range either. And I know you can have different types of range anyway. But yeah, so with when the electricity goes, the gas goes too for the great vast majority of people. And for the people that have their own gas on their property, it will run out. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Just the way of the world has been lost so easily through this technology thing. Whereas if you ask that anybody nowadays, they would think they have all the knowledge at the tip of their fingers, and that basically it's theirs to have. They can access it whenever they want for whatever they need, except for when what they need is non-technological, and that technology has been taken away. It's not there anymore. Now what? Now you never learned it because you were too busy with your sports and too busy with all the other fantastical colors flashing on your screen that now you're fucked. And then that falls squarely on the parents, which it feels weird talking about parents in this day and age. I gotta tell you, Austin, I don't know where parents are. When I go outside, I don't see parents. I see kids a lot, and I honestly don't see parents. I see kids acting crazy, and it makes me literally run scenarios in my head because I have to understand how it got that way for that kid. And I'm not sitting here trying to just blame the kid. I'm just saying, I'm like, how is this possible? Where's the structure in the household? I don't care really what your situation is. If you can't be some sort of figure for your child, you're not really a parent. You're just a babysitter. You're a provider surrogate. You're like a nanny, and you're not a very good one. It's like this weird thing is replacing parents. It's also selfishness absorbs the average person, so that you have parents espousing that they don't even want their kids on social media. Like, how fucked is that? there's parents with kids that will grow up that have people point out like, hey, your mom said she didn't even want you, bro. These kids are, if their mom's not on OnlyFans, she's saying she didn't want you to begin with. Like, dude, these kids are cooked. Like, for the future, as far as technology is concerned, they're cooked there too now. So it's like the thing that they're relying on and the thing only thing they know how to use is actually their downfall in every single facet. But yeah, no. So you made absolutely great points there, and then I think what that kind of breeds, on the other hand, other end of that spectrum, is you have this whole prepper mentality too. I think, which is a little interesting side note we could maybe talk about, because I would say I'm on like the edge of it because I'm too realistic, and there's a part of me, I think I've described this to you before, that says just like this manly call that I think that like me, you, and Adrian could just like dip and be good. Like, I just feel like there's something about that. Like, if we just were to just dip, we'd make it work. I don't know. There's just this feeling. I don't know. Maybe it's just ego. But so I have that there. But at the same time, like I said, I'm very realistic about it. And we're, out here on our new property, we're doing a lot of things that trying to find being able to be self-sufficient on things where we can. And luckily we have a lot of like fruit bearing trees, and we're doing the garden thing and things of that nature. But there's almost things that feel like until they turn it off, I don't know how. And I'm not sitting here trying to say it's bad that you guys are using electricity or internet or anything. Obviously we're all kind of like guilty and privy to what's going on in a certain way, so I'm not sitting here trying to cast judgment on everybody or anything like that. But you have, along with this whole zombie scenario, you have this other thing taking rise at the same time. And I say taking rise, but really the last like almost decade, it's gone hand in hand with the zombie thing, is the preppers. And I think, if you can like sum up controlled opposition, like that's what I see in it. I think that what you have is unrealistic for this age, for almost any modern person to really take on a true, and I say prepper, that's kind of like a modern take on what's the traditional or old traditional ways of living, like knowing how to do things in the bush and knowing how to forage and knowing how to hunt and knowing how to cook without gas and electricity and all that kind of stuff. That kind of goes hand in hand with the prepper guide, like book. Because obviously they're called preppers because they're prepping for that end of world scenario. So obviously those things are going to be there. But I think for me that it really is something that is co-opted 100%, because you have all these TV shows and like you have people trying to get into them. And if you go on YouTube and you type in like, I guess not preppers fails, what's the other word? Off grid fails. If you tap that in, you will have the next 5 days to watch videos, because they trap people into these corners that it doesn't work. And they find out it doesn't work after thousands of dollars. So it is this strange mentality where it's like, it's almost like they trick you into like, you got to spend money to not make money. It's like they get you to agree to that. And then you're like, yeah, you should be spending money to say no to money for the future. And before you know it, they're thousands of dollars deep in basement snacks and weird subscriptions and things that are going to lead you nowhere. And then at the end of the day, it just hardens them on the idea. And I don't think true preparation comes from like, it's not like we can all have a bunker and you can be as prepared as possible. I mean, and this isn't to take away everything from it. There's something in everything. There's something in everything, and I do think there's lots into like the traditional and prepper type archetype to take from, but to go full into it was the trap that a lot of people fell into. And I just see that as such a co-opted, obvious thing to just catch people on the outside. It's almost like eBay was such a trap for elderly, early eBay, and probably still modern eBay. But like I remember early eBay was just an insane trap for elderly people. I'm talking like dawn of the internet, inter- elderly people that can't go anywhere, and then they just eBay, everything's at their fingertips. And anyway, get into that later. But it's just a honeypot. That's the term for it. But yeah, what's your take on like prepping? Is there any validity to being to having to prepping?
Yeah, it's a perfect point you made there with the prepping, and like you were even saying, just even with the parents and how they've just how they've disappeared too. And I've talked about too, because that's part of the prepping too, prepping your kids and stuff. And I've talked about it, how my when I grew up, I really wasn't raised. I basically had to raise myself, and I teach myself everything I know. And that's why I am behind a lot of areas in life. I don't know things, and I didn't get to experience things because I was always by myself. I didn't really have anybody there to show me or lead the way. But it's weird how you brought that up too, because like I'll be out and about, or I'll be like out at the trampoline park. I know that when we were there too, I mean, you see like how there's like bullying and stuff going on, the parents don't really care or do anything, and I'm just always
Oh, it's
seeing the
a
kids
race
like go
war.
at it. They're going at it, they're fighting, they're swearing and everything, and the adults are just like nowhere to be found. Or like maybe there's like one girl, she goes and sits like with the family or the parents, that she kind of comes and plays. And I watch everybody when I'm there, and I'm out and about. I watch people, how they act, what they do and stuff. And you're absolutely right. The parents have disappeared. It's weird, it's crazy. And then um how it's like I kind of see what was my life, and now it's like I just see like the programming or whatever it was, and then how that now it's like everybody, it's nuts. And then and like I said with the prepping, because that's part of it too, being there for your kid, prepping your kid, being prepared and prepping the world and stuff. And um yeah, it's very interesting because a lot of people say, to me, it's like, like I always say, like, I'm very spiritual. I feel like I'm already honestly prepared as much as I could be. Like, and like I said, I think if you're really to prep or prepare, I think your best option is to, get down by the equator and just do the food, water, shelter route. I think that's your best option. Just like I said, always be one with nature, one with the land. This whole prepping thing, and and it comes in so many waves. There's people, they want to go out to, the middle of the woods, Minnesota, and get a van and just go live out there. It's like, well, everyone knows where you live. They ain't getting away from nothing. They got drones, heat-seeking technology, well, everything they have, and you're not escaping or getting away from anything. They're gonna find you. I mean, you ain't getting away. I don't know where you think you're going. I mean, um, and the thing is, too. I mean, like you said, what are you gonna do when you're out there? You go out there, what are you going to do when you're there? I mean, you just sit there and what, how much, if shit hits the fan, great, you're ready. But what if it goes on for another 5, 10 years, and now you got all this stuff, but what we can do all that food? What are you going to do? Just sit there, because you don't know when they're going to pull the lever, like we talked about last episode. That we don't know when exactly it's going to be. They know when this is all going to be. They have it all planned and stuff, what they're going to do to us, but we have to guess, and we have to gauge when it's coming, where it's going, what it's going to be, and what it's going to look like. And we got to do the work. They're just going to pull levers. So, uh, you got people sitting back. They say, oh, get all this food, get all this water. Um, it's great to have extra stuff. I try and keep stuff stocked up too, but I mean, there's only so much prepping at the end of the day you can really do. And, it's like people, I mean, it's like, gold and silver too. Oh, gold and silver. Well, what good is that really going to do you at the end of the day? I mean, the gold and silver is going to be worthless, useless. You can't eat it. You have this money in gold and silver. What are you gonna do? Eat it? You can't eat it. So it's like, what good does it really do you? It's just it's again, it's another uh wealth distraction, another implant by them and stuff to divert people's attention and, just kind of get people just thinking that, things that don't really matter. And, like I said, it's, great. You got silver, gold. I got a couple silver coins myself, but, I don't know what good that's really going to do you when the crap hits the fan anyways. And then, like we kind of talked about last episode too. I mean, yeah, it's great to, have guns, obviously, have protection, have stuff like that. Whether or not it's going to get to the point that we have to shoot people, or it's going to go down that way, or maybe it's going to go a different way if people like us, something else is going to happen. I don't know. It's hard to say. Um, but I mean, it's the same thing too. I mean, you got people like, oh, I got all this, I got all that. It's like, okay, well, what are you going to really do with all that? You really think you're going to, stop, everybody, and you're going to take on the world by yourself? I mean, that's just kind of what a lot of these preppers seem to think. It's like I'm barricading myself out in the woods or out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm doing all this. But I mean, what's the real, how far is it going to get you? That's just the thing. I mean, and what the other thing too is, when it all comes down and it all happens, um, and all this prepping and preparedness, what world are you, if you survive, are you even going to come out to? I mean, you're almost better to just go down with the ship in a lot of ways than to be part of their world and what they're going to have on the other side. So, in a lot of ways, like I said, I mean, it's like, you just kind of want to embrace it and just kind of embrace your own death, because it's like what they got coming, what they have planned. You're not probably going to be part of that world anyways. So it's like all these people they're like, oh, I'm preparing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But really, I mean, there's only so much you can really do. And a lot of it isn't even going to matter. I mean, you could have your shack, your hut, your whatever, you're trying to get away, trying to find a place in the middle of nowhere out in the mountains or whatever. But, like I said, I mean, it's not, how long do you plan on staying out there? And then, do you even, by the time the stuff hits the fan, do you even have anything left? I mean, and then if it does, go down, are you even going to survive with what you have? I mean, there's people that are prepping and they live in like cold ass areas. I'm like, why do you want to be where it's cold? I mean, you're not going to survive outside when it's minus, 50, 60, 70 degrees. You're not going to survive. You're going to be dead. So it's like, I would think people be, relocating to warmer areas, but some people, they want to be out in the cold. I don't know why, but it makes things 1,000 times harder. But um, it's just yeah, it's weird, what some people think in their prepping strategies, and it is. I do watch some of these things once in a while. They'll pop up, and I'll see what people are doing and what they say, and yeah, it's weird. Also, some people think they can just go out in the middle of nowhere and they're going to be fine. They're going to be okay. They're going to escape what's coming. It's like, you realize the technology they have. It's like you're not getting away from anything. So it's like, um, I mean, it'd be different, if there was, enough wake people that, did have, guns and did have the right, attitude with life, and did, you want to actually have a revolution, do something about things. But the fact of the matter is there's not enough people. I mean, you might take some people down, but you're not going to win the war and win whatever by yourself. I mean, you can take out as many people, but if you even survive, what's coming on the other side of it, it's not going to be any good. So a lot of people, I think, it's like they're prepping, they're preparing, but I feel like a lot of people, they just kind of do it and they don't really think that deep about it. Like, what are you really prepping and preparing for? I think it's more, for me, like I said, spiritual than anything. And like, if you are going to prepare, I say go down by the equator, try the food, water, shelter route, and just try and, just try and live naturally. I think, and I think that's the way to go if you're going to be a prepper.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points, and I just kind of want to point out. I touched on this before, when it comes to like military, police, and things of that nature. But I do see this as kind of like another. I'll just use the same terminology, like a honeypot for people that do have the aptitude to be a wrench in their plans. Like, the average person that would put in the hard work and dedication to do something like prepping, not saying the people that throw money at prepping, but the people that actually take it upon themselves and learn seeds and growth cycles and how to do these manual labor type living. Those are the people that have the wherewithal to fight, but they are instead being used, having that like thought process redirected towards like survival, like soul survival, instead of group survival, instead of like the idea of fighting with a group. They shell up and
Right.
they turtle up. and
Right.
and so I do think that that's another aspect of, you might think, oh yeah, they really have this set up to get what, the the 8,000 people that are even trying to do this in the United States. Yeah, they are. Those are 8,000 people that are. There's a difference between a person and a capable person. The vast majority of people, and I'm not saying they don't have they couldn't ever do it if they were to, break out of their what they got going on. They can. Everybody can. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but you know what I mean. The sentiment about what I mean. Um, it's just that there's certain people that will and that do it just because they want to do it and they have the will to do it, and they're being redirected in certain ways. It's like, think about the average person in the military. Obviously, that's cooked. Good luck. But I'm just saying, even locally, the police and those people, they're sucked into these systems that are obviously close ties to the masonry, and they, before you know it, they're brothers and they're lodge members, and they're not going to want to tear that system down because they're a part of it. It's the same kind of like just ruling different sects of people out from the fight, and before you know it, you get the skeleton crew that's left, and it makes them think twice about trying to do anything about this. And that's like the grand scheme of this entire thing. Is, I'm not saying it's the grand scheme. And in fact, it's annoying they have to do so little. It's so disrespectful, guys. You don't have any idea how disrespectful it is that they just put everything out there. Do you guys know what that means? No, you don't know what it means because they're doing it. And I'm not saying you specifically. I'm talking about this as a, obviously not you, but I mean, even the viewers. And maybe it is a viewer, but I'm not trying to single anyone out. But as a collective, it's obvious that if we had a population of people that didn't like being talked down to, propagandized, infantilized, then they would do something about it. And because no one's doing anything about it en masse, it's pretty clear that I think they probably don't know what's being done to them. They're kind of outside of the joke. And it's really sad because the jokes are dry jokes. These are not jokes that like take a whole lot of thought. They're right there. It's basically just a sentence in your face. You're fucking stupid. That's it. You either hear it or you don't. And a lot of people just don't hear it. It's just said right to them and they just don't hear it. So they don't take offense to it. So they don't change anything. And they don't approach things the way they should be approached, because that's what they're telling us. They with every fake shooting, with every fake pandemic, with every fake any, you know what I'm talking about, any like manufactured disaster type thing. That's what they're doing. They're laughing at you. They're making you the butt of the joke, and they're telling you about it, and you're just sitting there acting like you get it, and you don't get it. You're just laughing along with something that you don't understand. You don't realize you're laughing at yourself. And but yeah, I really do think that there's a concerted effort to get the what's a good word? It's like it's almost like the cream. It's like to separate the cream from the
Prop.
yeah, that works. Yeah, because it's, it basically gets the best out of fighting position. And I'm not saying, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm not saying it's their main focus, and that's why it's so disrespectful, because I don't think they have to do a lot to guarantee that they're not going to have a large military force resist them in the end. And that's what we need to think about. We need to at least have a threat. We're not an ant right now, and it's pissing me off, and it's always pissed me off. But I mean, this is a multifaceted thing. It's not like I'm sitting here saying I know how to fix anything or how to get things done on the other end. But it's super. There's certain things that are super simple. I may not have the answers for every specific situation, but we need to stop supporting the things that we're supporting. We need to call out the things that we see. We need to have our time on these platforms need to be spent doing something, showing something, helping somebody in some way. And I don't think we're 100% set up for that for all those aspects right now, but we're damn well going to speak on things and show things while we can and what we have at where we're at. So it's sad that you don't have that many people doing anything really. And meanwhile, you just have the best of the what we have left being picked off. And like I said, we're just going to be left with a skeleton crew. We're going to look around to our left and to our right and be like, it just takes that fighting will out of it. And like I was saying, you have a lot of people just being sucked into different avenues of living when in reality we should be militarizing. And
Yeah.
and I'm not saying I take any kind of joy in that, but like you mentioned, the guy living in Minnesota who's gonna die when the bad winter hits, bro, die with us. Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go. If you're gonna die, why that? Come
That's what I'm
on.
saying. It's like these people. This is what I've been saying all along. This lone wolf stuff. Everybody just. I mean, the world is self isolated. Everyone just by themselves. They're alone. And these prep people just. Well, I'm prepping out. I'm buying going by myself. It's like, okay, there's only one you. You got all this ammo for your AK. What your AR, whatever you got, okay, your guns, you're all that. What are you gonna do all by yourself? It's just like, yeah, I'm awesome. I'm gonna take on the entire U.S. military by myself. Oh, yes, I
One
am.
day.
I'm gonna take them right out. There's no stopping me. It's just like, are these people? How high are these people? Are they just on drugs? Are they thinking clear? I mean, and like you said, it's just this is supposed to be a fight. I mean, we should all be fighting together. We should be working together, coming together, taking the fight to them. You got your prep and you got your guns here. Let's all work out. Let's just no. I'm gonna go self isolate out in Oh, look at the Dakotas. Nobody lives out there. Northern Minnesota, the northern tip of Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm gonna go to Wyoming, Montana. No one lives out in these states where it's minus 40, minus 50. I'll die in like 10 minutes of frostbite and hypothermia, but yeah, it'll all be worth it. I'll be by myself freezing to death, and I ain't even gonna make it through the brutal Minnesota winter up here in the woods by Canada. It's minus 50, minus 55, but yeah, I'm all good. Almost out of food. I'm down to my last dollar, but I got my loaded AK, man. I'm ready. It's just, what is that? Like where's the brain power? Where's the thinking? What are we doing? I mean, it's just like, oh, I'm a prepper. It's just, it's just like everything's just a fad. Everything's just a joke. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, what are you preparing for? What are you doing? What can you really do by yourself? I mean, there's power in numbers. And there's a lot more of us than there are of them. And you're just out. We're all hiding, isolating out in places that won't do you any good. And you won't survive anyways. You won't even survive not only the fallout and what's coming and everything else, but you won't even survive the weather in the cold. So it's like, what I don't understand where people are at. It's just really blows me away.
It's well said, and yeah, and it's just that chipping away of our of our forces that don't know that there are forces that's what's so rough is that it's such an uphill battle because being on the side that we're on right now. But yeah, just that same point I've already said. I don't want to be too redundant, but yeah, just looking around at the skeleton crew we have, it's hard enough to have the motivation to continue. But it's almost like it's going to be like bad news bears. We're just going to be looking around. We're just going to be, we got Martha with the with the rolling pin. We're going to have like wheelchair Dan with a crowbar. It's
Yep.
going to be rough when it comes down to it, but we're going in. I'll push Dan, and you and Martha bring up the wings, and we're just going to attack. But so yeah, but at the same time, there's no point in being like completely, uh, you know, pessimistic. I guess what's interesting though is like pessimism is realism in this today's day and age, and it doesn't make me happy to say that. It's like you do have people that like to be pessimistic, without any reason. They just like to be, oh, or even those people that like are the professional victims. That's kind of like the same kind of vibe that is, where people just like to be on that lower spectrum and they like thrive in it and they like to talk and be in there and talk that way. This is no joy in what we're talking about really, other than having a conversation with you. That's always good. But what we're talking about, this isn't like something to celebrate or revel in at all. It's at the end of the day, it is actually rather serious. Even if we do try to bring some levity to the situation, it is something that's serious. And we touched on like the parenting and everything like that. I think that is something that is extremely serious. And as I've always said, that's where it starts. And it's unfortunate that you have to try to meet people where they are in their 20s and or late teens, 20s, 30s, 40s to try to get breakthrough to them now because, bruh, you just do something. Sorry, bruh. King Rich is gonna cook me. Shit, I'm one of the bruh guys. Anyway, if we were to just instill good values into the kids early on when they're that sponge, a lot of these issues are at least 20% less potent. But no, it's just, whew, it's rough looking out there, especially having just recently had a kid in high school. Oh man, I mean, obviously, I went through high school and all that kind of stuff, so I knew it was rough. I knew it was bad. And by the way, I did not want my son high schooled. I did everything I could to keep him out of the situation. There's a shared custody thing, and didn't end up right. But luckily, he's only has to do a online school. Which I will say this too. I feel like they're pulling things back a lot. Like what worries me about where we're going is I think the next thing is very soon because
Oh,
they're pulling out of so many things that they were going hard on for a decade now. And now you just see like I remember they were so stringent and crazy about school for literally the last 6, 7 years, even through COVID. And like even when people were staying home, they were like there was like this specificness about what school is and how it's going to be done. And then the last few years, it's starting to look like they don't give a fuck anymore. And it's just like, do whatever. Like just barely do anything. Oh, you're in homeschool? Okay, whatever. We'll just assume you're gonna do the stuff. Okay, that's fine. Um, and it's just this to almost feel like, that thing is coming pretty soon that's going to make all the way things are done now uh, unnecessary and expendable, and so they're just letting it ride while it's still there, and eventually because that let's just call it the beast systems knocking on the door. um I guess we can there's always as well. I guess it does have a religious connotation. There's almost always a religious connotation when it comes to like a large scale event. What do you think the likelihood is for a large scale? They call them like extinction events, but where millions of people are taken out at once. These things are either shown through like aliens. Obviously, weather can do it. Like I've seen the Earth off its axis being a reason, a meteor. Um, I'll give my take after that, but what do you think about that? Do you think that's even a possibility?
Yeah, it's interesting, and you go off of what they say and or what they tell us, anyways. That humanity almost got wiped out. Like how many times already? How many times they say we almost got wiped out, and there was only like a few people left that we just managed to keep going through supposedly millions of years, whatever they want you to believe, but or whatever really happened, but um there is too, I've heard too where, there's this, obviously the reverse, the reflection of the so-called climate change and global warming, that the planet's actually getting colder and moving towards an ice age, kind of like that movie, The Day After Tomorrow. I think it was like the
Mm.
one of the first movies on DVD when that came out back in 2004. I remember watching that, but seen that quite a few times. But again, with them being able to control the weather and weather control, um, I would think that would probably be. I mean, if they were to usher in an ice age, if they were to do that, um, and obviously, like volcanoes and stuff can cause that too. With like if enough volcanoes start erupt, like if Yellowstone were to go off, and or like Mount Rainier and everything just starts
Let's
blowing
say,
up.
how
I
about
mean,
right here? Yeah.
yeah, Mount Rainier. I mean, that would probably kill me. Obviously, I live close enough to it. I'd probably be dead. So
Yeah.
this whole area would probably be screwed. So, um, I mean, that's obviously something you got to think about as well. And if that sets off Yellowstone, then everybody's pretty much dead and screwed for the most part. Yeah, and just I mean, things they can conjure up. Um, massive earthquakes and volcanoes, and with it, if they just it's unleashed twisters all over the world or something like that, it could do a lot of damage. Tornadoes, other like the cyclone bombs, like the hurricane that they conjured up a year ago and threw at us, stuff like that. Things that can kind of catch people off guard. Uh, the fire, stuff like that. Take a lot of people out with the fire and stuff like that as well. I mean, there's just so many ways. If they could do, we talk about, our nukes, real nuclear bombs. Obviously, we know they got big bombs, big, things to blow up and explode and take people out with, and things like that. I mean, I don't know what really is all real and what the mass, takeout could be and stuff, but like if they were to unleash the biggest bomb that they have on like New York City or something, and target there, like New Jersey and places that are really, Rhode Island, that are just packed, and they could wipe out. I think Rhode Island's like got the highest. It's such a small little state, and like areas like New Jersey, it's like got the highest population density. So I mean, I don't know what their biggest stuff, how much damage they could do if you drop something like on, say, Rhode Island. How many people in Rhode Island could you wipe out the whole state? I mean, maybe. Um, Maybe if you launch a few bombs or whatever you got, things like that. Uh, Assuming they go that route. Yeah, I mean, you look at like I said, I mean, how the last like ice age and how that came about and stuff, and things like that. Or could they make a scenario like that happen? That would, to me, that would be probably the biggest thing. Would be something along those lines, where you're talking about hitting the whole world as it is, and then of course, well, it's just ice age. It's just the weather off. It's just nature. Just see it, nature taking its course. Just happens, and then you blame the ice age, and then it just happens, and then and then it just goes. I mean, that just goes down in the history books and stuff. It was the ice age that wiped everybody out. So um, there could be something like that. I mean, the things. I mean, it does. Hard to say. Is it really getting colder? I mean, and the weather is whatever they want it to be, but I mean, it definitely could be getting colder. Definitely, we know, obviously, like Operation Solar Shield, blocking the sun. I know I talk about that from 2017. I bring that up all the time. Um, Obviously, you block out the sun, you block out, you know, the heat and the warmth and the sun, and all the things you need to survive and stuff. So that takes a lot of people out as well. So, um, there's other things to kill people. The cancers, everything else that they're spreading and stuff. I think that there's so many things they can use to take you out that it kind of just depends on how they really want to do it. I mean, do you want to cause an event? Do you want to make it more distraction? Do you want to go the war route? Say we got into a war. Do you want to, kind of be undercover with it, with cancers and other things that are going to, start popping up the next 5-10 years. Like I said, I know they're spraying rabies and crap on us, stuff like that, getting people sick. A lot of people with, mental illnesses and problems and stuff in that nature as well. So you can't take away from that, that'll, play a part of it as well. So, yeah, I think that, whatever they have in the books to do it, it just kind of depends on, it's, if they have total control of stuff, it's just, like they have their bunkers to go hide, whatever. I don't know, they planning on staying down there, coming back out, or what they have planned, but it's interesting, how much damage they want to do, that they want to completely destroy the earth or the world with whatever they have planned, or they plan on coming back out into the world, stuff like that. Like, I often wonder too, and, do they have, like us breathing in everything they're spraying and all the poisons, do they have antidotes to the spray and the poisons and everything else? So, maybe they do ingest it, but they get it out of their system, and they have like um, it's like the death pods, but except they go in it and it like cleanses them and makes them feel amazing. And then they have the death pods, people like us. I mean, that could be a possibility as well.
And there's also, there's a lot of media about exactly what you're saying too. And there's also historical evidence to back that up. As far as when you think about things like radium and a lot of people mention ether and things of that nature. You do a little historical digging and you see like certain places that were, you might have heard of like the radium springs, and the meme a while ago was that like they don't want us to drink bleach because it's like that's the way out of the matrix. It's like once you drink the bleach, you wake up out of the matrix pod. It's like we're just stuck here because we're not drinking the magic potion bleach. But just pretty funny. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you hear, oh, radiation, it's bad, it's cancer, it's this and this and that. But it's like you look in the history books and they were soaking in it, and they were espousing that it was, helping for their longevity and their life and things of that nature. And so, yeah, do I think that the goal, alongside all their other goals, that is definitely a goal of theirs, is that fountain of youth. And I think one fountain of youth that has been farmed far too much is the big bad achrome word that YouTube doesn't like, adrenochrome. The whole idea that
Yeah.
you can get life force from the I guess I won't get too gory with the details. I was going to go pretty dark there, but if you don't know how that's ascertained, do a little digging for yourself. It's honestly a good exercise. If you don't know about something, don't rely on every video you watch to give it to you. Go do some digging yourself. It's good training for you. But anyway, so I do think that is a major part of it. There's things that are there's things that delay the inevitable, and then there's the concept of there's a formula. I think that they're able to live a whole lot longer as long as you maintain a specific formula, and it can be either that's when you get some of the more religious takes, and talk about the deal with the devil and things of that nature. I think that there is an aspect of that, whether or not it's an actual demon creature type being or a concept that goes along with doing a very evil deed in order to ascertain something you want. That's up for debate, but Yeah, I think that that's one of their major goals is surviving the next apocalypse.
Yeah.
And whether or not the apocalypse is brought on by them, I think from what my personal take is that, and you mentioned it too, like, from if we go by what they say, there's been several extinction level events in our history and
Right.
the Earth's history, and you're right. We're just lucky to survive and prosper the ice age. We just barely survived, and all of a sudden we just, you know, numbers just rose right back up again, and we're just pesky little guys, and we always come back, and it's like sure. Um, my personal belief is that these events are less spaced out than they want us to believe. That's why they throw around numbers like hundreds of millions and billions and trillions of years, is because we want to think that we're out of this zone. Because when you have a number like a trillion, and even if you were to say it happens every middle point of a trillion years, it's just like okay, that's never. That's never. That is never. If it happens like one time in a trillion, that's never. You might as well just say that's never. I don't care if you are that one in a trillion. That's never. And then it's also stupid that we believe that they were able to ascertain the knowledge of the one in a trillion. And this history is it's so fun for them. I can see how much fun they're having, just making shit up as they go. It's like part of me is envious of it, but at the same time, it's fucked up. But
Like they sit back and they look at us like, oh well, they don't know. They got to guess. They got to see how close
they
they
gotta
are,
come to me.
how far up there. Was that true? Was that how close was it? Was that? Like they look at us, they just laugh and like, look at them, we got them. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to think. They're confused.
Yeah, they know we got to ask them at the end of the day to like asking Neil deGrasse Tyson for clarification on anything is like, oh, that's heart wrenching for me. But yeah, oh yeah. Personally, I think that resets, as they're called, have happened. And I think that there is a blueprint that people know about. And then, like I've said, I think it used to be more common knowledge, and that people lived their lives and their that's why bloodlines were important. It's not that so much the bloodline was important, it was about passing down information systematically, because one of those generations is going to get hit with the reset. And so you don't take for granted that you're living in the golden age, because eventually one of your ancestors is going to get hit with the reset age, and if they're not prepared from being raised and having all that stuff passed down, then they're going to get cooked. I think that we are being ruled over by families that have that knowledge, and and rather than, obviously they keep it to themselves, but rather than just even keeping it to themselves, they every time they aim to profit as much as possible. And that's the whole playing God concept, because I think there are quote unquote natural disasters or things that are bound to happen that you can survive if you have foreknowledge of. Maybe not everybody. I don't think everybody's meant to survive these things, but you can survive them. But that's been so washed out of our collective conscious that only these people know about it. And so while they prep and they do their thing, they want nobody in their way. They want nobody, because in order to have the time and resources to build for the next reset, they need the manpower of the cattle. And so every time they come out of these resets, they are the rulers. They come out of the earth relatively unscathed, and they bring order to the chaos, and they sow a new way. If you look back into I think a recent reset was not that long ago, a few hundred years ago, and you have orphan trains, and you have things of that nature, world's fairs, all the good stuff to look into. And that'd be these are great episode concepts too. orphan trains, World's Fairs. I feel like that's a super broad thing on the internet nowadays. Everybody has their video on that, but it's still something to give our take on. I think we can go a lot further than just honing in on the World's Fairs and orphan trains and things of that nature, because I think everybody should have at least an ancillary idea of what that is. Whether or not you believe it or not, you should at least know about it, the things of that nature. But anyway, so I think resets do happen. So all that to say, I personally don't think it's possible. I personally don't. Well, not to say an ice age isn't possible, or like that type of thing isn't possible, but I don't think a meteor is possible. I don't think aliens are possible. I don't think an out of orbit event is possible. That's just.
Or they say where the poles are going to shift and all that.
It's happened multiple times that our poles have shifted. And
that's like I always say, like Pangea is Pangea a thing? Did it exist? Did it exist multiple times? Was there multiple Pangeas? Was it ever a thing? Is that why they show you the countries and the shape that they are to make you think there was a Pangea, that they all came together and split apart and that they fit together, that there was even a Pangea? Is any of that real? Is any of this accurate? This is where we just, like they said there was the ice age, there was this, there was that. Okay, but like you said, I don't believe in the meteors or anything like that either. That's all, all this extraterrestrial stuff that, it's just like how, they at one time we went to the moon, but we never went back. We lost technology and it's too much. We can't do it. And there's all these other things that are they're so out there. But
are we going back this year too? No promise to go back this year.
It's gonna be Uber. I'm gonna be doing Uber Eats to the moon. I gotta feed the Martians. They pay me extra for regular Uber too, so I'll bring them back so we can get them on the podcast.
Perfect. I was gonna say, when you mentioned the pole shift, I was like, maybe that's 5D chess by the winter preppers. Maybe they're like, this is gonna be tropical in a couple of years, man.
Yeah.
Just trust me, I know. Maybe they're onto something. And the concept of aliens, maybe that deserves a partial of an episode too, just because of how much they've released the alien files, the X-Files, and just how little that it's been anybody even cares. People not seeing this for the litmus test that it was is so funny. The JFK, MLK files, RFK files, aliens all being released, and just nobody gives a flying fuck at all. Just like, even the people stuck on the Epstein, just wait. It's the same thing. No one's gonna give a rat's ass in a few months. Just watch. You're not even gonna hear it again until they drum it up again somehow, and it'll be brought up again. It's so easy for them. They can manufacture these fake wars. What I wanted to say about war too, just for anybody on the fence about if this is possible or not, I want you to ask yourself, is it possible that America, not Hawaii, look, I understand that Hawaii is technically America, but you guys need to look into what happened at Pearl Harbor and why Hawaii is okay to attack as opposed to mainland USA. Just do that for me, please, and then come back to me before you say that America has been attacked. Is it even feasible that we have been entered into? Go and look it up. As many wars as we've been entered into, and not a single ballistic missile has struck our country. Now, I want you to take that thought and go look at any other countries involved with war. Middle Eastern countries are a great place to look at. I know Thailand or Taiwan and Asian nations, great place to go look at. Go see if they've ever been struck by bombings and missiles. Yes, they have. They're not, it's not like they can't be. But like, guys, this is all, do you think that it will end this way? That this is like something that will be to the end of time that this will just maintain. And I don't want you ever, if you come into my comments and you talk about 9/11, oh, okay. I never want to threaten any kind of, but if you come in and say we were attacked on 9/11, I'm at least going to have to pull you aside, okay? You're going to have to stay after class. But, so yeah, we have not ever been struck by any kind of weapon. And no matter what, the world hates us as far as we know. We're the superpower that apparently, if you think about attacking us, we will destroy you. Do you really think that that would stop everybody all the time? It's just like, so it's almost like what I see that as is that symbol is what they're doing to us. They are America, and we are these other smaller nations, and not necessarily smaller, but smaller military wise nations that we can't even fathom attacking this thing because we're so scared of the retaliation. And so we never do it. And obviously, guys, I'm aware that the country's leaderships are all in bed together. I understand that. And that, these things are planned out and orchestrated to a script. I completely get that. But I'm saying for those on the fence and don't understand these things, try to rationalize how America has never been attacked by the last attack that we were subjected to were balloons floating across the United States.
Yeah.
Terrifying. New at 11. The balloons out of sight here, but we're getting word from the next town over that it's, dropped 10 feet and no one wants to approach. We have bomb squads. It's just like, bro, it's a fucking balloon. Who said that it's Chinese? What does that mean? What are you talking about? It's a balloon. It's just, as far as I know, Timmy at the zoo lost grip, and then the whole world was just, and we're not stupid, and we're not just taken for fools at every little thing. Who knows what happened that week, by the way? Who knows what really happened the Chinese balloon week? All they had to do was show us a balloon on the news, and we didn't see the major thing that happened. I guarantee you there was some like stock turnover rate. There was some big major fraud scandal that just went right under the radar because the balloon was just flying across the USA.
They're back. They got us with COVID. Now they're getting us the balloon. It's them again.
Yep. It probably has monkeypox on it. So we can't shoot it down or else it'll be a foreign agent over. Meanwhile, it's like all the shots of it, it's just there's planes flying overhead just dumping chemicals on us. But it's just like, the balloon, look out, guys, cover your mouth. Always wear goggles if you're coming out in the balloons in your town. The balloon, man. That's like, this should be like a Stephen King novel. The balloon.
The balloon.
Oh, man. They got us. It's check. It's not checkmate. They got us in check right now. We got to like analyze how to get out of this and not make stupid moves. Any more stupid moves. What else was there? Oh yeah, you obviously you mentioned whether or not nukes are real or not. Let's just entertain the idea that nukes, as we're told, are real, as far as like the devastation of them and the after effects, because that's another super popular thing. In fact, is the idea of fallout. I might be referencing the video game or series, or the now it's an Amazon Prime series or whatever. But the idea of nuclear fallout's been proliferated well before the video game franchise, and it just might be just made the most popular by it. But you made a great point that if nukes are real, like what's the fucking point? To an extent, but it's like, as far as like, what's the point of not joining the fight? That's where I'm coming from. I'm not saying what's the point of fighting. I'm saying what's the point of not fighting? That's where I'm coming from. If I know that my dudes have a one-hit KO, it's just like, so do I want to get hit with the one-hit KO running away from it, or do I want, how do you want to get hit by it? It's just like, there's a certain, and this is not to say that this is how it is, guys. It's just I give us a lot bigger chance than that, by the way. Um, but yeah, it's just how do you approach the idea of like say the bombs do drop? What's the angle there? What do we do in that scenario?
Yeah, and it's and it's just like I always hear people say too. Oh, if we go to war, it's they're gonna hit the West Coast or the West Coast, the East Coast, or whatever. It's just like no matter where you go, it ain't gonna matter. And maybe their plan is to like nuke or drop a bomb, near like Mount Rainier and like Yellowstone and trigger volcanoes to go off. I mean, that could be maybe I don't know, or drop one in Yellowstone. I don't know. I mean, um, obviously they bombs underground, causing an earthquake, stuff like that, doing things like that. I mean, from what they tell us, I mean, if the bombs, oh, they're gonna hit, we're gonna get invaded on the West Coast or whatever. I mean, it's like I don't know. Is there even if there's nukes? It's like then there's no point really of the war getting invaded because there'd just be nukes just flying. I mean, there's not going to be a war when there the whole world. I forget how many nukes they say there are, but um, once those would start flying, I know they even say it would knock the Earth off its axis and it would cause ice age and block out the sun and all that stuff. Um, you know, there wouldn't be anywhere if what we think or what they tell us as of like the movie Terminator, where the nukes are going off, they got to get in the bunker and all that crap, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, unless you did have like a bunker and you were like underground, I mean, it wouldn't do you any good based off of what they say. I mean, but nukes, bombs flying everywhere, and you got the supposed radiation, all the other stuff, and all the other chaos that's going to come with it. Um, yeah, I mean, if it comes to that, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you said, it exactly. It's like, what's the point of just hiding out, waiting for the nukes to come flying? I mean, I don't see the point. It's just like, and if we do have these weapons, and they are to, and that's the thing too. You can argue it's like, okay, if they do have them, will they use them, or do they? Why would they want to destroy the Earth or the world and everything? If I mean, do they plan, like I say, do they plan on coming back out of their bunkers? They're gonna repopulate the Earth. They coming back out? They just gonna stay in the bunkers and just live down there where the world's destroyed? Are they gonna, are they, or maybe are they planning to go either way with that? Or um and like I said too, I mean, uh maybe they'd bomb and nuke like a lot of areas that are, maybe they'd leave like down by the equator, they'd leave that area alone so then they could just go back out into that area and live uh down there, and then have like the areas like where we're at destroyed, stuff like that, these cold areas, things of that nature. um it's an interesting topic. uh and then just like like I said, if it's World War III, I mean, it's war. I more so think that it'd be like I said, EMP, the grid goes down, you have the that type of scenario. um Cyber attack, you have all the all the well, none of your electronics work if they detonate a bomb, a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere, and then um, destroy all the the communications, everything, and then uh, they could probably go that way with stuff too, because that would, then they could kind of have then I could see maybe the war, the invasion angle, maybe boots on the ground, that maybe tanks, stuff like that, maybe that type of warfare, maybe. um but I kind of, just I kind of feel like all that is just kind of for show too. I mean, what they tell us the other wars, with how those went and what this one would mostly look like or how it would go, World War III or whatever you want to call it. So, um, yeah, I feel like whatever they, whatever it's going to be, I feel like it'd be very fast, very quick. Um, like I said, if it's EMP, that type of deal or something where, uh, people just they just die off from starvation or whatever, without the cyber tag grid goes down, that there's no banks, there's no money, there's no way of life anymore. People don't know what to do, they can't survive. uh, that to me kind of makes more sense, but I mean, it's hard to say exactly what they have planned. Obviously we know that the whole grid going down thing is been planned, and they got a date and stuff for that when they're ready to go, and who knows how close we are to that. But yeah, as far as um nukes and nuclear bombs, all that stuff, and what all that stuff causes. I mean, yeah, I know they used to say, like, when you'd watch shows, like, oh, it takes this many nuclear bombs to cause an ice age and to throw the Earth out of axis, and it would, then the super volcanoes are going to go off. Maybe maybe like I said, maybe they're trying to, maybe that's how they're going to do it, and then they're going to say, they just launch a nuke to like Yellowstone, then that triggers Yellowstone. They say, oh, see, natural disaster went off. It was Yellowstone, and that was it. Or maybe maybe to cover something up. Maybe, I mean, I guess that could be a possibility. But I mean, other than like I said, like the movies and like Terminator and stuff like that, I mean, that's pretty much what they show you. Judgment Day, the nuke's flying, they got to get to the bunker, that type of thing. The world's going to be destroyed and everyone's going to die, and they're going to be the last people alive and stuff like that. I mean, um yeah, it's I don't know, I feel like the way they'd go with it, I don't know if they'd want to destroy the earth completely. I mean, they are poisoning everything, killing us and killing animals and killing everything off. But uh, I don't know. Like I said, are you just gonna, it's like the prepper? You're just gonna hide in your bunker all day, just hide your whole life and never come back out. So yeah, it is interesting. It's like when you look at the what they have planned, like down there in like the Denver airport, like with the Yellowstone going off and stuff. Maybe it's got something to do with that, perhaps.
You make a good point too of them using these things as triggers. That's something I thought maybe I've heard of something like that before. I definitely heard it for the ice age, the idea of the environmental shift after the because of the nuclear fallout. It causes like a environmental shift or whatever, and ozone, and we enter into it. I've heard that theory, but the idea of shooting one into a volcano, that's relatively new to me. Maybe I've heard it, but I don't know. So that's like a new concept to me. So that's definitely interesting. I do have my own concepts and thoughts about volcanism and things of that nature, and whether or not it is even nature. There's a lot of different concepts that float around with volcanoes and mountain ranges and things of that nature. Too much to get into right this minute, that's for sure. But you were curious, so I brought up this chart. It says we have 3,700 for the United States. Only one with more is Russia. It has 609 more uh, active warheads.
609, like 69, like Illuminati. Interesting number.
Very interesting. So yeah, I mean, how do you use 3,700 nuclear warheads? I don't know. Like, do you need that many? I don't really know how that works. But I guess doing some relatively quick math, between the U.S. and Russia, there's 8,000. Let's see, just round down where we can. 300, 225.
Close to 10,000.
Yeah. 700, 800, 1,000, 1,600 on top of, 9,600 nukes around, floating around. I'd probably, oh shit, it says it right here, 9,600. It says it twice too. I just didn't even read it. So yeah, 12,241 of them, but it says 1,500 retired in the United States and about 1,200 retired from Russia, and I think those are from treatises and things of that nature from past wars, where they're forced to sign armistices or whatever and retire an amount of warheads based on war. Whatever, arbitrary bullshit, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, meanwhile, you just have like Africa, it's just out there chilling,
Yeah.
just fucking chilling. What the hell? I couldn't reconcile the world when I was like 10. How you just see the images of Africans and then you're just in your world in the like 90s. It's just like, wait, what? What? How far away were we from like caveman? Where you guys say we're millions of years from that? Why are there people living in huts? I don't even understand how
Yeah.
that's even possible. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying I think on average, there's obviously traditions that are much different, and obviously, but I think modern Africans would not mind having houses and like central air and heating and stuff like that. I'm not. It's really hard to not. I shouldn't approach this. Really hard to approach this topic and not sound like insensitive or like think I have like some backwards mentality or root like mean mentality on it. I'm talking about just like reconciling my beliefs and understanding of the world since I've been a kid, and it's only gotten more. I've seen a lot about Africa, and obviously it's like I've also think of like you think of Egypt. Like, how is it possible that Egypt is a shithole? Like, wouldn't that, if it really was what it was, how is it just an absolute garbage heap? Have you seen Egypt? It is fucking nasty. And it's like super expensive nasty. It's like really expensive for the people to live there, but it's just like garbage shit in the streets, brick like shit clay houses. It's just really crazy. And shanty hotels and stuff like that. It's really weird. How is that even possible? And to your point, one way that that's possible is if Africa, the most fertile place on earth, is the destination for those coming out of the earth. You know what I'm coming out of the earth after the reset. Africa, South America, it works perfectly into what you were saying. So yeah, I mean, even just looking like geographically, it's like this whole quadrant's fucked. And I almost think that you could sit there and say, why the U.S. hasn't been struck is just because of the placement of the U.S. Obviously, the North American continent is kind of far removed from the big, ginormous landmass of Pangea, if you will, a greater Pangea. Obviously they say all this was connected, and you can kind of see it, and blah blah blah. But even without being necessarily connected, I mean, it's separated by small oceans and things of that nature, and inlets and seas that don't really, cruise missiles are going right through there if the bombs started to drop. So it's just like you have this congregation of powers that if they go to war, it's just march to the next guy's house, whereas going to the US is slightly harder. I still don't think that that's much of an excuse for the question I posed to anybody watching this video that has any glaring doubts about like this being a staged world that we live in, a staging ground for what's to come. And yeah, just look back and reconcile in your own head how we have never been attacked, never never carpet bombed by another nation? Like, why is another nation never just, air raid warnings going off and we're just getting bombed? Why not? We're just the special people that don't ever get bombed. What do we got?
Yeah.
Star Wars. We got Israel's Star Wars dome. I think there's a lot of BS that you gotta work through in your head in order to believe that. But yeah, this was a fun one, and at the end of the day too, I think it might even spill over in a different way to next week, because I would like to hear like King Richard's take on. And by the way, I'm counting my chickens before they hatch. I still gotta get him on the horn and see if he wants to come on next week. But if he is able to hop on with us next week, obviously we will be playing some catch up. There's been a good few things happening, especially just right here at the end of the week. I know that there's another mass shooting and some other things to cover just in the news that he's going to have a lot of good information for, because I was personally in his stream viewer as well just today, and he was he basically broke that thing wide open along with Zach. It's like, that's all you need to know. I commented on Zach's videos. Him and Richard, broke this thing, busted this thing wide open before the bodies even went cold. Because where who knows these bodies, and of course this is a story about kids being shot. So anyway, palpable news stories to cover, and he's got them on locked and loaded. If you guys did not catch the link earlier, make sure you check him out. He posts quite often too. Obviously, I'll leave the link for Zach's channel in the description as always, and I'll flash it here in a second. I'll just leave his up for a minute. But yeah, hopefully he has more to bring to the table next week as well, if we can get into a separate type of discussion, which generally tends to happen regardless. So I don't even think we need to necessarily plan a topic other than, obviously getting a refresher on him for what he's been covering the last week or so, on top of some other things. But I do want to parlay that into saying, if you guys do have a topic you want us to talk about, please let us know in the comments or email or whatever. The scrolling, throughout it's also in the description. Let us know what you want to talk about. You mentioned earlier at the beginning of the stream too that there was some people reaching out to join the podcast. Now there's, why wait? I know we had Frank the Truth Tank, a fan favorite of multiple channels in the community. So that'd be great to have him on. I've definitely heard him speak before on Calling to Zach's. So he's definitely, not to say he's always around, but I'm just saying, like, as far as having, somebody come in and join the panel, that'd be awesome. So hopefully we can get that in the works as well. And anybody else who feels like joining, it's like, if you guys were to really pick a time, I would say, like, try to do it all at once. It might just be coincidence, squeaky dink, but if you got, the more the merrier. Get in here, we could have like a panel discussion. That, I think that would be it. I would almost rather that us try that out rather than try to plan it out at where we're at right now. This is something that we've talked about, and I kind of wanted for a long time for this to evolve into like a panel. Not all the time, obviously we have our show, but once ever do like a rotating panel with a few different channels. At the time I had in mind, obviously one of them being King Richard, who I think is down. It's just we're missing those other channels. We're missing those other people, and they don't have to be channels, just people. We're missing those other people. I keep saying channels, sorry guys, but we're missing those other people that are. I mean, if you have a channel, great, but to fill in that panel to make it something that's realistic. So if you guys make yourselves known and we try this thing out, we have 3, 4, 5 people. That could be like the sweet spot, and we could get something going here that could be the evolution of something to come. I've always said I wanted something to challenge the CT's panel, just because I think so many people get caught into that, whether or not they're hating on it or getting stuck into it for whatever reason. I do think that it is an issue of the communities that we don't have an option. That it's like we can knock that one all we want, and for good reason, but at the same time, we're not even like trying to have our own. So why? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think there is a little bit of some idiocracy going on there. But yeah, I'll let you close us out, boss. What do you got for us? Finish us out strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great show again tonight, just like last week. Last week, of course, talking about obviously do we need people and depopulation, and tonight just going through kind of the variables and the symptoms of a lot of things and a lot of different ways of looking at things with the basically the collapse of humanity and the depopulation, but also just like all the kind of forms of collapse and just the way society is just kind of going and just what people are kind of doing with things and um and even kind of like that conspiratorial aspect, what's even real, what do we think, what do we know, how close are we there, are we not, it's are we somewhere in the middle, it's so it keeps, like I said, it keeps things open for people to comment and think about and just have on your mind. Just different things for different people and different viewers. I know everyone's a bit different, so these are the episodes that people definitely can I feel like chime in a lot. Like I said, um, people seem to be pretty interested in these kind of types of videos, and I think that like you said, with the panels and stuff, that'd be great because like you always have, you always got to go to the raging tomato or Mr. Wilson over there, Mr. OnlyFans, go on his crap with the Raging Tomato or CT, and instead of having to go to Andrew Wilson and be the Andrew Wilson guest, we could have our own team, and people have to come to us. They have to come on our side, our show, and they have to deal with us, and um, have to deal with the you know people that actually have facts and information, and that's the thing. I mean, you brought up a great point. People actually coming together, working together as being a team, a panel. Uh, this could work. Going against a lot of other uh, people or having debates or even to bring other people in again because there's so many different people in the community. There's so much different knowledge, and there's so many different ways people can show things or explain things or talk about things. And that's what it takes to reach a lot of different people. I mean, you just kind of, like I said, you have to kind of look for other people, see where they're at, see where you compare, see where you differ, and then just try and close that gap in. And um, yeah, I feel like tonight was another one. Like last week, it was two episodes that maybe last week maybe more abrasive. This week, maybe some things you thought tonight maybe were abrasive, maybe not. Maybe some people can have like it's a very lot of it's opinion. It's kind of open air because we're kind of talking about the what things are going to happen, and you can kind of make predictions and guess, and uh, there's not really a right and wrong. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it. You just kind of it's just up for interpretation, and that's really what you need a lot of times. I think to get people in, just get like deep thought, deep philosophical conversations, and um, thinking about things that maybe you think about here or there, maybe you never think about, maybe you think about all the time. But like I said, everyone's different. So, um, yeah. And then, like I said, I mean, there'll be quite a bit of stuff to cover in December, obviously. And, obviously there's going to be things that we're going to go through on the channel. And like you said, King will bring, obviously whatever he's looking at or going through at the time, whatever he's talking about or whatever the news headlines are. So, I mean, it's going to be a very eventful time coming up. That's for sure. I mean, December, not going to waste it. Especially January, not the real start of the calendar year, but like I said, by April, I really think things are going to look completely different. I think there's going to be a lot that's going to happen the next 4 months till the real start of the real year is here. And they like to always play during the winter, and you never know. I mean, we could get a bigger event than we think we're going to get in December. Maybe it'll be January. And you never know. I mean, I think there's definitely a vibe right now. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's good or bad, but there's definitely a strange vibe. Definitely noticed it lately in this week, but it could be good, it could be bad, it could be something else. It's really hard to say, but um, yeah, looking forward to episode 64, and whether or not it's with King, we'll definitely have if it's King, it'll be have him on. If it's not, obviously we'll have our own uh other topics or things to talk about next week. I know there's a couple of things that are kind of on my mind that I've been thinking about that'll probably add in either way. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it was another great show. And like I said, we're getting older. 64. It's like the Nintendo 64. We're getting up there.
Well, the call is still coming from inside the house, y'all. Get involved. Pick up the phone. Get involved with us in any way you can. Obviously, the views and subs and comments have been great, and hate to sit here and ask for more. I'm not going to beg, but I do. Like we say, I mean, I think what we're trying to get out of you is something that you won't know is good for yourself until you do it. We've talked about our story plenty of times, but we had to find that out in our own way, because as far as I know, you hadn't had any YouTube channels before this, and neither have I. So yeah, so we're really just trying to get people to come out of their shells and see that it's honestly what's necessary. But at the end of the day, it's also I don't want to say healthy, but in a way it is healthy. But I do think it's a necessity that you don't know you're missing until you do it. You don't know it's not there until you fill that void and you realize, oh man, this is way better now that it's being taken care of. But yeah, I think you said that well enough as well. And hopefully, yeah, next week we'll get King Richard. I did send the line out, so now it's it's a waiting game. But hopefully we see you guys next week with special guests in tow, and anybody else that wants to get involved. This isn't to say that next week's not a good time, so hit us up. And until then, have a great week, guys. Later.
Peace.